Hello, welcome to Madrona's Pulse Teachings, Astrology for Healing. I'm Iris J, and I am giving you the full moon update right now. So this is our full moon that's happening on December 7th in Gemini. It's at 16 degrees in Gemini, so it is a great idea to just look at your chart and see where you have that in your chart. And this is happening on Pacific Standard Time. It's happening at 8:08 p.m. So you want to see when it's happening for you, especially if you have your moon rituals that you want to do. I am talking to you from a very snowy and very chilly BC in Canada. I really hope that you're doing well wherever you are in the globe. And what is this moon about? So, in one phrase, this is a moon that's asking us to reassess our spiritual commitments, our spiritual journeys. This is a moon that's, it's talking on many layers, as astrology is always looking at many layers. And I'm going to open those up with you, the Gemini layers and the aspects that are saying why I'm saying this is about, really reassessing our spiritual path in this beautiful light of the illuminated full moon that's actually asking us to see how we have been in a journey of rewriting those paths, and that this is really a time to become conscious and aware of how we've been rewriting our spiritual journeys. So why is this the case? So any full moon, we have the moon opposite the sun. So we've got the moon in Gemini, we've got the sun in Sagittarius. We've been having so much Sagittarius energy because the sun has been there with Venus and Mercury, but Mercury is now entered into the first degree of Capricorn for this moon. And this is an axis that's really looking at how we make sense of the world, how we make sense of ourselves, our thoughts, our language, our communication, the way that our immediate community is always in relationship to the bigger ideas. Sagittarius is all about the bigger ideas, our bigger truth, bigger quest for meanings, but the way that there's always a relationship, a give and take, a dance between our immediate thoughts and language and the people we're talking with on the day-to-day and our bigger frame in making meaning of the world. And this is happening with a lot of Pisces energy for this full moon, which is why there's a lot of layers of also asking us to consider our spiritual journeys, consider them, reflect on them, and just experience what we're experiencing right now, especially as we're moving into solstice, as we're moving in here in the northern hemisphere, we're moving into the winter solstice, and this energy of this full moon is carrying us right into that. So, firstly, Gemini. So we have this moon, and this is not just any moon. This is a moon that is exactly conjunct Mars retrograde in Gemini. So I have a video that's all about Mars retrograde. You can see where Mars is doing its thing in your chart. I'm going to drop that link below because it's really useful to know what has been going on. We're all in a process of reassessing parts of our body, psyche, makeup in that Gemini area of our chart because Mars is retrograde right now until the new year. And so all of that energy is what this moon is illuminating. Okay, so first surface level. Astrology is all about the layers. So our first layer is just the fact that this is a Gemini full moon conjunct that Mars retrograde. So Gemini, there's probably going to be quite a lot of information. There's going to be quite a lot of thought. There's, just think about the time of year that we're in. A lot of us are kind of thinking about the past year, 2022, what journeys and adventures it's taken us on. We're entering the holiday season, which is a lot of mixed energy and mixed emotions for people. It puts us all over the spectrum. There is a lot of information. There is a lot of emotion. There is a lot of thoughts. So this is a moon that's asking us to actually become quite mindful. Become quite mindful of the thoughts, the information. It's conjunct that Mars retrograde. So there might even be confusion over what we're thinking. There might be confusion. Mars direct in Gemini is bam, bam, bam. It's going with the ideas. It's going, it wants to. But Mars retrograde is reserved. It's not producing that drive yang male principle energy in the same way that we might be used to. And that could be confusion. That could be some crossed wires. So this is really a Gemini energy, December 7th, and, coming leading up to it, then after it, when we don't just want to speak. whatever we're feeling. We don't just want to speak our thoughts. We want to reflect a bit. We want to make sure that we're speaking from a mindful place. Part of the reason being that the ruler of our Gemini moon is Mercury, who's entered into Capricorn. Okay, so this is a very different energy than Mercury that's been through Sagittarius. This is a Mercury right in the beginning of that Capricorn journey, which is also literally about the energy of the path leading us forward. Okay, wherever forward is. Forward might be a zigzag up that mountain with that mountain goat, but it's a forward moving energy. So this moon, all these thoughts, the reflections that are coming up in these very thought airy places of our psyche, they're also part of taking us forward. There's a mindfulness. Capricorn knows what it's doing. Capricorn has an internal kind of sacred timing mechanism with it. And that's where Mercury is sitting right now. So the Mercury, the planet that rules this Gemini new moon, that is our thoughts, that is the messenger of the gods, actually is very directed right now. And it's just at the start of that. So there's a connection between where our thoughts are leading us, where we can be heading, and all the illuminating that's happening at this time. So it's just really asking us to be mindful, not to react from those quick places. And Gemini is quick energy. The moon is quick energy, but to really sit with it. Great time to journal, of course. But there's more to these layers. Okay, so that's the first layer. All this information, mindfulness, seeing what's emerging. So the first aspect being that this moon is in a direct square, exact square with Juno, the asteroid Juno, who is in Pisces. And she is our goddess, shook the computer because I'm talking about Juno. I'm talking about the asteroid goddesses. I get passionate whenever I go there. So she is our goddess of traditionally she's thought of as the goddess of marriage. She's a goddess of long-term partnership. She's the ruler of contracts, whether they are contract like marriage or business contracts. She rules all of those commitments, okay, that we make in our lives. And she's in Pisces, and she's squaring in an exact conversation with this moon, this full moon. Juno and Pisces, the way, whenever I'm working with Juno and Pisces, yes, she is where we look. She's where we look to long-term partnership, even more than Venus. But when she's in Pisces, she is first and foremost interested in our relationship with the divine. What is our contract with the divine? What is our commitment with the divine? And we're being, Mars is retrograde, so we're being asked to reassess the placement of that commitment to the divine in our life, in the way that it, especially the way that it impacts wherever we have Gemini in our chart, wherever this Mars retrograde, wherever what's being illuminated, and where we have Pisces in our chart. And what is that, just take a moment around this full moon. What is your commitment to the divine? How does that show up in your life? How has the past year helped us, forced us to reassess that commitment? That's part of the reflective process that we're asked to be in right now. And that's pretty deep, right? And then because it's Juno, because she is overlooking, and she's the part of us that is there with all of our commitments. How does that commitment to the divine ripple out and affect all of our other large commitments, whether they're to people or they're to our businesses, And maybe this is a time to realign. It is a time to realign because Mars is retrograde. And we're being asked to really look at that, to reflect on that, and remember that Mercury is going forward in Capricorn. So that commitment to the divine is also something that's going to help us move forward and build in that Capricorn aspect of our life, in our psyche. Okay. So really a time to appreciate and come into those Piscean waters, which are not, this is not about our ego. This is not about how we are going to build the empire that's our little psyche's ego's construct that comes out of capitalism and colonialism that we're all impacted on one way or another, right? This is about actually kicking that ego out so that we can just get into those spiritual waters and really be with our commitment to the divine and reflect on that. What a beautiful time to reflect on that as we're coming into the solstice. And yet there's more, because Mercury has been journeying with Venus during the past while. They moved through Scorpio together. They've been in Sagittarius together, and now Mercury's gone ahead and it's gotten into Capricorn. Venus is still in Sagittarius. So we're still having, we have that Sagittarius sun. We're still working with this expansive reframing of our worldview energy. And Venus is at a point that's called the galactic center. Okay, so not going into this too much because I like to keep these moon updates condensed, but this is really an opening. This is, Venus being at this galactic center at the full moon is on its own. It's an opening to what we would consider a spiritual healing, to really getting in touch with what our soul is here to journey with on this life, and a moment when we could really receive insight, warm, beautiful insights into what brings us meaning in this life that is part of the expansive journey of our soul ultimately returning home, however that manifests in this life on a spiritual level. And that Venus is, of course, squaring Jupiter, who is at the 29th degree of Pisces, last degree of the zodiac, the culminating degree of the entire journey of this archetypal wheel of our cosmos and psyche and body together. And this is such a culmination of the spiritual journey. And it's a culmination that is way beyond thought. It is actually somewhat of a void for the thinking mind. It's really just something to be experienced. Jupiter is here to just be experienced. But it's Jupiter, at this culminating degree before it enters Aries and creates a whole new journey, which happens right around solstice. Okay, so this energy, this Piscean energy, not to mention that Neptune is newly in its direct roots. So we have the ruler of Pisces, the ruler being in Pisces with Jupiter, with Juno, all of that talking to this full moon. So really this, it is a time to be in this experience of culmination, of reflection, of your spiritual journey. What is meaningful to you now? Maybe it's changed throughout this journey that we've all been on for the past few years. Maybe it's changed from when you first started the path that you're on 5 years ago, whether that was a learning path or a business path or a relationship path. Maybe things have changed. And this is a time to really let ourselves reflect, let ourselves enter into kind of a dreamy state. But there's also, there's the Neptune, there's the Piscean archetype that's here with Juno, that's here with Jupiter, that's really asking us to actually come into a very meditative, quiet place, working with Gemini energy, which wants to communicate and wants to think and wants to understand. So we're being asked to come into a balance, and it's a wonderful time to do those practices that take you into kind of a dreamy state, and then to journal with them, then to reflect on them, then to have a coffee chat with a dear friend over them and just see what emerges. And really, coming back to the way I started this, it's a time to really claim this beautiful energy that we can understand. We can rewrite our journeys. We can always do that because that's what our soul's here to do, and it's part of healing. And this is a time when we can really kind of sit down, carve some time for yourself around the full moon, and see how you've rewritten your journey from a place of joy, from a place of expansive. Now lean into that Sagittarius sun, that fire energy, from a place of joy that honors the journey you've been on and that commitment to the divine. Okay, with that, I leave you. Be well and stay warm if it's chilly where you are. Otherwise, enjoy the warmth because it is cold here. Take care.